This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. This is Pete McGilvery in the Office of Environmental Management. I'm joined today with Eric Whitehead, Roy Jackson, and also Matt Marino. We're here to discuss the Section 106 Annual Report. As you are aware, we have a programmatic agreement between ourselves and SHPO, and part of the requirements of that particular programmatic agreement also require us to pull together an annual report where we're looking at our performance relative to engaging within that programmatic agreement and see how we're all doing collectively between ourselves and whether or not we're doing all the things that we said we were going to do. As we go through this, just so you know, we are recording this. There's lots of people that are busy. Everybody's doing lots of various things. We will make the recording available to folks. So feel free, once you get the email with the link, to share with anybody who should have access to it. And as we go through the report, I'm going to go ahead and in this presentation, we shift from one presenter to another. The first thing I'm going to cover with you guys before you even see it on the screen is the authority and requirements, but I did want to just unequivocally state, everybody did a fantastic job. In the review for this year, it was outstanding. I know you'll hear from Roy and you'll hear from Matt on the specifics of what was found during this year's review. But just as a state, we're doing a fantastic job, and I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that, and I wanted to thank everybody. Okay, so let's get going on authority and covered requirements. For the authority for the 106, as I said, we're doing this because we have a programmatic agreement. It was originally dated March 14th, 2016, and then we amended it when we took on NEPA assignment. Of course, within that agreement, we need to comply with Section 106. And throughout the agreement, we have various stipulations. So stipulation 12D of the agreement requires that OEM perform an annual report. And really what this is, like I said, we pull together annually to say, here are the things that we needed to do within this programmatic agreement. Did we do them? Do we have documentation to support that we did them? And then report our compliance and share the report both internally within the department as well as Roy and Matt share that report with SHPO as well. Some of the things that it's going to cover in the report, we have the track and report stipulation 5, stipulation 6. We're going to be focused on the notifications for minor projects and how we're going to send those email notifications to SHPO. We're going to track and report on stipulation 7 projects. Another requirement is to track and report on available cost data. Of course, within the report itself, and of course within the programmatic agreement, the report documented is our quality assurance review of the statewide program. So there is a requirement in there that we come back in annually, review the program in general, see how we're doing against various things. We need to establish our performance measures and report on how we're doing programmatically. And of course, if there's any updates to the PD&E manual or the Cultural Resources Handbook that we want to, the report provides a mechanism to also communicate that information out to everybody reviewing the report as well. So that's the authority. I gave you guys the thank you, and now I'm going to shift over to Eric, who is going to start talking individually about the report elements.
Okay, good morning. It's Eric Whitehead. Welcome to our meeting on the Section 106 Annual Report. I'm just going to briefly touch on how the report looks, and I'm going to stay true to how it's organized when you actually see the report. So I'm not going to go into any substantive aspects of it. That's going to come later with Roy Jackson and Matt Marino's presentation. So in the report, you can see here we've got the executive summary, the background, the quality assurance review section, performance measures, the training, PD&E manual, cultural resources handbook section, opportunities for further review and attention. We have a section on recommendations and the conclusion. And I'm just going to briefly touch on each one of those. So under executive summary, that's a snapshot of the annual report, and it includes all of the recommendations. In our reports, we actually, in executive summary, have a full text of the recommendations, so those are not abbreviated or shortened in any way, so I just wanted to mention that. And then the background covers the authority, scope, and methodology, and the report development team. It lists them out. So in the quality assurance review and performance measure sections, the state cultural resources coordinator and the cultural resources specialist, Roy and Matt, they use district responses to review and assess adherence to the programmatic agreement. So they've come up with findings that include successful practices, opportunities for improvement, and OEM observations. And under the performance measures section, we included performance measures and the district performance results. And just so you all know, those come from the spreadsheet that you sent to Roy. We've actually taken that data and we put the information in the performance measures section. So under training, PD&E manual, cultural resources handbook, that section covers any updates to the programmatic agreement, requirements for training, the PD&E manual, and the cultural resources management handbook. So the extent to which we've had any updates or changes, we're going to talk about them in that section. For opportunities for further review and attention, based upon the OEM roles to coordinate the statewide Section 106 program and provide technical support, this section covers areas needing further review that could benefit program implementation. So now we're on the report details, data collection and performance, and I turn it over to the next person. I think that's
me.
Roy.
Good morning, everybody. This is Roy Jack. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for your quick response when I sent out the request for the data collection. That comes in quite handy. The quicker we have them, the quicker we can start putting them together. And this year I sent them out in March, along with a template that I'd like to follow. And if you have any suggested improvements to the template, let us know. But I think the template that we used this year worked pretty well for getting the data that I was requesting. And you all noticed that I had added the 2 columns for the Stipulation 7 projects and for the costs for archaeological excavations. Everybody had responded to this by June 11th, and like I said, that was a pretty good response, return time. And there was so I'm going to go over now some of the key district findings and the performance measures that they were placed against. The performance measures, and you can see this on the slide that's up here now. You were pretty much 100% on with almost everything in this, and that's statewide. So you all are doing a really, really good job. You should be aware, I don't know if you know this, but there is a backup way to count these as well, and that is using at least for the Stipulation 5 and 6 projects, and that is using the SHPOs because they get sent to that special address, the permits address. We can cull them out of there as well, which allows us to compare the results, which I generally do like sometime in the first month after we do these discussions about the reports, and I'll let you know if there's anything strange that comes up. There was a bit of a bump this year because of all the emergency projects, but those were in general handled very well by you all. And some of you were really quick to adapt the emergency projects into the notification forms, and knowing that some of them didn't fit, you did well too. One thing we did find out is that there's a number of projects that are done on a routine basis, that we never see, but when in the aftermath of a hurricane, if they have to be done, they do come through your offices. And then if you look at I don't know how small the print is for you up here on this next one. I have to use because everybody else has a mobile device here. If I was using a mobile device, I'd have to be looking at my phone, and that would be much smaller than it is in the paper that I'm using. The key district findings and the performance results you see all reported out very well. And then we broke it down this year to where we had adverse effects, so we can keep track of those. I don't know, pardon me, I don't know a good way to track mitigation costs other than the mitigation costs for archaeological excavations. And one of the things you've probably already heard me ask about this is a way to collect that information, if there is a way to collect that information. It might be difficult, but if you see we've got the total number of projects you did, that's one of the more important counts, because that's the count that we use to management to show that these are projects that we were able to just do notifications on, rather than having to do full cultural resources studies on. I wanted to note also that when we collected the costs for the Phase 3 excavations, we collected costs that were the ones that were contracted costs. So we didn't have all costs in on those. And that's probably the way I would prefer to do it. But at some point, we might want to also include the costs, particularly the costs of artifact analysis. At some point in some of the future Phase 3 excavations, it wouldn't be a bad idea to separate the costs for the accessioning of the artifacts and for the analysis of the artifacts. But more importantly, it might be a good idea to collect the time that generally takes following the conclusion of excavation. And one last word on this whole matter is I applaud all of you. You did a wonderful job this year in every category. So I want to thank you for that, because the better job you do, the easier it is for me up here. So thank you guys. And now I will turn it over to Mr. Marino to go over the report details and the quality assurance review.
Thanks, Roy. So OEM key finding in the review is that you all were successful in tracking stipulation 5, 6, and 7 projects and identifying the appropriate Exhibit 1 or Exhibit 2 project description and sending the required notification to SHPO. A few other successful practices that the districts identified were that SHPO staff have been great about reviewing the minor project notifications or tech memos or coordination letters quickly and asking questions if needed. Also, District 6 maintains spreadsheets detailing all projects processed under the 106 PA to efficiently track project compliance and to quickly provide the information to us for the annual review. They've also added some additional detail to the spreadsheets to ensure that methods used to determine the performance measures accurately reflect the compliance of these projects with the appropriate 106 PA stipulation. And finally, District 6 also ensures that good faith affected parties consultation under Section 106 is properly conducted and documented in the project record. So as a result of the review, we identified the following opportunities for improvement. As Roy said, collecting and tracking costs associated with survey mitigation and other compliance activities. Processing emergency repairs for 106 compliance when coordination with SHPO can occur concurrent with or after the repair action, and also when the action may be completed as part of a permanent repair under a separate FM number. Dealing with unevaluated segments of linear resources, particularly when we have eligibility determinations that have been made for other segments of the resource. And finally, support additional training and or consultant staff to better support LAP agencies' compliance with 106, as opposed to just relying on the districts. So the following are some general observations based upon district responses and the PA requirements. First is that OEM should ensure that cost data can be collected in light of the upcoming PA revision. If there are substantial difficulties in collecting this data due to how the survey and evaluation efforts are funded, OEM will need to determine if this data will be accurate enough to be of value. Also, cost for cultural resources mitigation resulting from adverse effects to historic properties is not currently being collected beyond phase 3 salvage excavations. So as with the previous observation, we need to assess the quality of that data and its availability to inform the upcoming revisions to the PA. So this slide details some of the process and procedure changes that were made in response to the PA stipulations and the annual review. Stipulation 3E of the PA established a requirement to update Part 2, Chapter 8 of the PD&E manual, and this has been extensively updated to reflect this new and refined guidance. Some of these revisions were published in the June 14th, 2017 version, and we have additional changes that are going to appear in the forthcoming fall 2018 version of the PD&E manual. We also provided a few other procedural revisions and guidance over the course of the reporting year, and these include guidelines for maintaining compliance with 106 for emergency repair actions, updated tribal coordination procedures and protocols, and a new MOA template for use by districts while drafting project-specific MOAs. So all of these revisions and guidelines, like I said, they're going to be captured in the upcoming PD&E manual revision. Additionally, the Native American coordination webpage was substantially revised to reflect some amended consultation protocols and also updated contact information. And the MOA template is posted on the Documents and Publications webpage. OEM Cultural Resources staff will continue to participate with district staff and other OEM personnel in statewide meetings to review this recent guidance created by OEM for a variety of subject areas. And finally, we identified the following opportunities for further review and attention. First is continue improving FDOT's relationship with SHPO by implementing or continuing to offer opportunities for meetings or telecons between districts, the SHPO, and OEM. And this is just to review statuses of upcoming or ongoing projects, and also by providing additional information to SHPO for projects if requested. Second is to ensure emergency repair project files demonstrate compliance with 106. If coordination with SHPO is going to occur following the repair action, or if it's going to proceed under a separate FM for a permanent repair action, then there should be an explanative note made to the swept project file. And the update to this procedure is that documentation should be uploaded to swept within 6 months of the repair action. Third is to document fulfillment of Section 106 obligations. So in accordance with 36 CFR 800.3A, if a project is not an undertaking, or if a project doesn't have the potential to cause effects to historic properties, then FDOT has fulfilled its Section 106 obligations. And if this is applicable, then we're looking for you to document that determination in the swept project file. And finally, we need to redact archaeological site location data in documents presented to the public to remain in compliance with Section 267.135 of the Florida statutes. So I'm going to pass it back to Roy now to cover the report recommendations.
Okay. Do we want questions?
This is Roy again. Thank you, Matt. I'm going to talk very briefly about the recommendations. I'm just going to go straight through them so that we can do them, so that we can get them out of the way quickly and get to questions and so forth. One thing that I think is uppermost in everybody's mind is the revisions for the programmatic agreement. And that's something we're working on right now, and we're going to try to include in this update. Some of the things Matt was just talking about, particularly those situations when you have an undertaking that has no potential to affect historic properties. One of the things we noticed, which was kind of interesting, was with those emergency projects, was there were a number of those emergency projects which normally we would not even consider to be an undertaking that has the potential to affect. We had some rewiring and electrical boxes and things like that would not have the potential to adversely affect historic properties. The second recommendation I already alluded to once is that I would like for I honestly do need district input on how and which mitigation efforts we could realistically collect data on and which ones we can't. We have a wide array of different kinds of mitigation activities, and then we have and some of those are easy to track, some of them not so much. Like if we have to relocate a historic building, that might be a difficult one to track since it's going to occur outside of the PD&E study. And so that's where we need a lot of your help, because we know we know you have a better idea of how you have to contract out those costs. And another recommendation that came out also that was alluded to in what Matt just said was that we'd like you to implement or continue offering opportunities for periodic meetings with the SHPO and OEM to review project statuses. That's something I've noticed that SHPO seems to really like, is that engagement, and most of you already do that engagement at a pretty good level, but we want to maintain or increase that back and forth with SHPO on the projects, so they have a better understanding of them when they come to them, and so we can sort of nip some of the questions that SHPO may have about the project, or as Barney Fife, Deputy Barney Fife used to say, nip it in the bud. I can't do an imitation of his voice, or I would. Sorry. We're also looking for the districts to adhere to OEM's updated guidelines for processing the emergency repair projects for Section 106 compliance. We have, as Matt also alluded to, we have updated the chapter to get a more detailed background, more detailed information on the on those situations. It was odd because when we realized when the hurricanes came that we had to get some emergency guidance out there to the districts, but in none of the federal guidance did they have closeout times. So we didn't think about closeout times or when you would have to report the activity. None of the federal guidance had that. They just had the things you had to do. So we didn't think of it until it actually came up in those self-assessment that we just did. And that was when we made some of our more interesting observations. And now I'd like to offer you all an opportunity to ask us questions.
And Roy, we do have one. So we got a question from Terry. Will the districts get to review and comment on the revisions to the Section 106 PA? So the first recommendation was we're going to work through that as quick as possible this year, and Terry wants to see whether or not the districts will have an opportunity to review and comment on that.
Yes, the districts will. What I can't answer for certain is whether the districts whether we'll have the districts comment on it prior to having the legal up here comment on it. Things are more formalized now than they used to be, so there's going to be a number of things that I'm going to be putting in the 106 PA when I first draft it that SHPO may or may not like or go along with. But I would like to first get everybody in the department on the same page, then get SHPO and us on the same page. so that when it goes to the council, we're all on the same page. And then when it goes to after it goes to the council for review, then I'll be sending it out to the public and to the interested agencies, just like I did the original one. But yeah, I want the district's review either earlier. It'll come either after we've finished our review here in emo, or it'll come after emo and the lawyers have reviewed it. I was going to make a joke and say no, because the question was just straight up question, Terry. So, but I did it. I want credit for resisting the temptation to just say no.
So right now, that's the only question we have. So we'll leave it open for a few minutes. If anybody else has any other questions, we want to go ahead and handle them now. But this is obviously the end of the conversation. We have recorded the webinar. We will make the recording available to folks. And of course, everybody in the office here, especially Roy and Matt, are happy to answer any questions that are specific to the report, the recommendations, and the direction with the programmatic agreement.
See, there's a second question.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Can you scroll up so I can see the? Thank you. So Terry asked, is there a time frame for the revisions? Any idea?
Well, we're trying to get the draft finished by this calendar year so that we can get it out for review. But that's a hard date to commit to, given the number of other documents that come through here for review. But that is the target.
Okay. Scroll down. Can the programmatic and PD&E chapter be reviewed at the same time?
That probably will not occur, because the next time we're going to do the chapters, it's going to come out
October.
Yeah,
October this year.
Yeah, well, that really follow, yeah, and then October the following year. But the reviews that the districts will be doing on those will be happening in the late spring, I guess, sometime in spring next year. And I would like to have the PA out before then, because we can't really update the chapter to the PA until the PA has been at least agreed to by all of us, and we're pretty confident that the advisory council will be fine with it.
And then another question from that, will there be revisions to the SMART forms?
Well, yeah, we're working on revisions to the SMART forms almost constantly. And there may be some changes. There's a very good chance there's going to be changes to the notification forms for 106 too. My intent is to combine stipulations 5 and 6 and remove the activities that are in those two current lists, and have them have only one list of projects that need notification. And I would like to make a list of projects that do not require notification to SHPO. Ones where we can just either make the determination at the district level, or if SHPO or the council prefer it, to have that decision made at OEM.
Okay. I think that's all our questions for now. Give it another couple seconds. Also, I guess you could do me a favor. I don't think we said it in the very beginning, but if there are multiple people participating from your single location, feel free to put the names of those individuals in the chat, and then that way when we send out the recording, we'll make sure they're part of that distribution list as well.
Oh, and also feel free, if you have any other questions or anything that comes up later, plus any of those suggestions that we're looking for you all to provide us, feel free to call either myself or Matt with them. We're always more than happy to answer your questions. Sometimes the answers may not be anything somebody wants, but we're always happy to answer the questions and help you get through anything that's difficult.
Oh,
Okay, we got one more question. Will the districts have an opportunity to review the revised 4F forms that may affect historic resources?
Well, the districts will have an opportunity to review all the 4F forms that we're going to be creating. There's going to be a somewhat different approach to the 4F forms coming up soon. And you probably noticed in the recent chapter when you reviewed it, the one that's going to be coming out in October, that there's a bit more flexibility in how the 4F forms get used. And sometimes they're a little confusing right now because there are, especially the exceptions and exemptions form, because there are exceptions and exemptions that do not exist in the regulations. There's several that co-state the regulations, and a couple of them even change what's in, would change what's in the regulations if FHWA were to update the regulations tomorrow. I asked FHWA when they were going to update those regulations, and that was the FHWA in Washington. And they didn't give a time, but they said they're looking at revising them soon.
Before we close out, I just wanted to mention in the report itself, which is a copy of which has already gone out to everyone, in the back of it in the appendix section, we actually have the data that the districts and FDE sent to us for SIP 5, 6, and 7, and any cost information that y'all sent to us. So that information provides the detail and the raw data, and I just wanted to make you all aware that it is part of the report.
Great. Not seeing anything else from anybody. We appreciate your time. Have a great day. And once the recording is available, we'll send out an email with a direct link. Just as a reminder, right now, the FDOT is going through a transformation on our internet environment. So I won't be able to quickly post it on our OEM website. So instead, we'll post it in a public location, send you guys a link, and then once the environment switchover has happened for the entire department, I'll go ahead and put this video up on the OEM website as well. Have a great day. It was great talking to you. If you need anything, contact us, Roy, Matt, Eric, or myself. Have a great day.